Welcome to Hometown Salutes. I'm Sherry Kendall, and today I want to introduce my guest. It's Gill Darden. Welcome, Gill, to the show.
Thank you so much. God bless you, honey.
Well, let's get started talking about yourself. Where were you born and raised?
I was born in Springfield, Tennessee.
Okay.
That's 14 miles from Nashville. But my mother moved here when I was in 4 years old, and so I've been raised here in Indianapolis. I've been here in Indianapolis all of my life.
Okay. So you went to school in Indianapolis?
Yes, I started out at Shortridge. I wasn't smart enough for there, so then I went to Tech High School, and everybody, all they was doing was fighting over there, so I ended up going to Crisp Addicts. I did exactly... I did good at Crisp Addicts. Matter of fact, I really achieved there because first thing I did in my freshman year, I started playing basketball because everybody would talk about Crisp Addicts and the championship basketball team.
Yep.
I started playing basketball. Then I started wrestling, and I wrestled all over the state of Indiana and Ohio because we had a championship team. So I did this right here, and then I was having trouble in my books in school. So I told my mama, I said, Mama, I ain't gonna be making it in school. But I was determined not to end up in jail or penitentiary or in the graveyard. So I started working at Truck and Bus, Chevrolet. And it was hard. And I said, well, I got it made. And then my draft paper come in and said, you are, we're drafting you to earn yourself a right in the service. And I said, Mama, I cried and she cried.
You got drafted? I
got drafted. I said, but Mama, I gotta go. They said they needed me. So
what's the year? What's this time frame?
1967.
So you're right in the heart of Vietnam.
Yes, ma'am.
Time.
Yeah. Actually, what it was, I got drafted January the 17th, 1967.
Okay.
And I went to my basic training at Fort Bragg. And after that, I went to...
So you're 19 in basic training? Is 19. That how old you were?
Yes, ma'am. And I did about, I messed around a few months. And then I decided I want to be airborne. I said, well, they got a better chance of surviving, in this world. So I took airborne training. And
did you know that you were going to be sent over to Vietnam at this time?
I didn't know I was going to be jumping out of no plane for real. I thought
so you didn't know anything.
So I joined, and first thing they did was they taught us how to roll the parachute, how to prepare them, because if you need to know how to do your parachute yourself, because sometimes you get a hold of a parachute and it wasn't proper, and so your life was at stake. So I learned how to roll my own parachute and everything. So I went through about 4 weeks of airborne training.
Wow.
And they said, well, you gonna stay in there, Darden? I said, yeah, I'm gonna stay. But what happened was, when I first got on my parachute and got in the plane, they took us up on the C-130. And I looked down and said, man, I ain't going out there. He said, Darden, you gotta go. It's no choice. I said, I'm not going out there. He pushed me out the door.
Oh, no.
Then I'm in the air, 1,200 miles, 1,200 feet in the air, and you had to remember where all your equipment was so you could work your parachute. So that went okay. Then in my fourth jump out of C-130, this guy jumped right behind me too close, and he had to run across my parachute to survive from him and I both. Cause if he had just stayed on that parachute, we'd have both went zip to the ground. But what he did, he ran. I never heard of nobody even doing this. He ran across my parachute and lunged out into the sky, and then me and him both made it safe to the ground. And now this was, I was 19 years old, and all this was in 1967.
Wow.
So I I finished up there. That was only about 4 weeks. Then I went to Fort Campbell, Kentucky. No, I was still at Fort Bragg when I took my basic training.
Okay.
I took my basic training, then I went to Airborne. And I did about, like I said, after that guy ran across my parachute, so him and I both wouldn't end up dead, I got scared again. So they re-signed me to Fort Campbell, Kentucky. They said, well, you Airborne, we're going to send you to Fort Campbell, Kentucky. I said, oh, Lord, here it goes again. But we didn't do nothing down there but march and drill. So then, August, my paper came in and said, well, Vietnam, you need it. Not Vietnam, yeah, it was. Vietnam, you are needed. These suckers drafted me for Vietnam. I went over there.
Did you go as a paratrooper?
No, I went as infantry.
Oh,
that was even worse. That was even worse. Because the first 2 weeks there, the only thing we did was they took us out and dropped us in the middle of the jungle, and it would be so dark, you hold your hand in front of you, you couldn't see it. We put white tape on the back of everybody's hat so we could see the man in front of us. But anyway, I can see it just like it was yesterday. Hide behind a bush, no more than maybe 2.5 feet tall. I'm hiding behind this bush on the ambush. And when the guys were, and it rained all the time, so we would be in water, at least 6 inches of water around our feet and legs. And we would sit out there all night on the ambush. Sometimes they would come through, and most of the time they didn't. But even when they came through and we got in firefights, you never seen nobody you hit. You just shooting to survive. And the thing that get me was we survived that without it must have been the grace of God that was carrying us, because all of us young men, we were scared to death. So scared that you be afraid to close your eyes at night when time to go to sleep. You lay there and lay there looking out, watching for the enemy instead of sleeping.
Wow.
And the next thing, and I don't know when I dozed off, because the next thing you know, it'd be daylight. And you said, dang, did I sleep? It was just so confusing. But
how many people were in your group?
It was about 20 of us, but in my platoon it was only 8 of us.
Okay.
We was riflemen, and we would go out on search detail. We would just go out and to find out what was going on around the area. That was our main job. We was actually putting ourselves at stake, because we would go out and at 3 o'clock in the morning, roaming through the jungles, and it was so, like I said, it'd be so dark you couldn't see in front of you. And
goodness gracious,
I don't know how we made it without it was God, because like I said, anytime we got in a firefight, you never see nobody you shot. But there was times when we would have to go in and fight our way through. But all that stuff here, the way we was trained, you blocked it out of your mind. Whatever you did, you didn't really realize it. You did it, but it was just out of instinct where you had been trained. You didn't really realize what you was doing. So the thing that got me was, in Vietnam was, I did real good with the people there, with the sergeants and the lieutenants and the majors and the colonels. I made it good with them. I got in good. And what I used to do was, every time a new lieutenant come into the company, they put him with me to teach him the ropes. Yeah. Because then he have a better chance on survival. Because if they just take you and just turn you loose, we had never fought in those jungles before, and all of us was straight out of the streets, or you know, we knew about city and buildings. We didn't know nothing about no jungles or nothing like that. So they would always put a younger lieutenant with me, and they said, well, man, you learn from Gillis and your chance of survival is better.
Wow.
So anyway, I spent, I did that for about 3 months, and then I got bored. So I said, man, I'm airborne. So I put in for to do some jumps. Well, by this time, I didn't know these suckers had stopped jumping out of planes and started bringing these choppers in, they called them. They put us on these choppers and fly over a location, drop a rope about 50 feet, and we had to, with all our equipment on, slide down them ropes. I'm 19 years old in Vietnam, sliding down a 50-foot rope like a cowboy. And we would and we would go out in the jungle, but what was so frightening was you could never see what was around you. And like we would get shot at, you never seen who was shooting at you. You just open up when you see the fire from the muzzles. Then when you just fire back in that area, because we never did get to see them. And then if we kill them, they drag the bodies away. So you know, try to keep them. Cause we would go out like after we had a firefight, we would go out about 3 days later and try to pick up bodies. I didn't want to do it. We was ordered to do it.
Yeah.
So they call it a body count. They want to know how many people that we get, where they was from, and what they, you know. But anyway, it was hard, but I had lived hard as I was growing up anyway. I grew up on 3rd and Clifton, and that was hard. That was rough. So when I got to Vietnam, it was easy. And see, I'm a farmer boy, so I grew up in the fields down in Tennessee running barefooted down them roads. So when I got to Vietnam, I was right at home.
Yeah.
I mean, I looked at some of the guys, they would be crying. And so I said, hey, man, I said, let it go. I said, we here, I got your back. You ain't got nothing to worry about. And then they stopped crying. I said, man, just hold yourself together and follow me. I had to do it. I tell them, follow me.
That's crazy.
But anyway, just like I want to go back to the part where when I got hit with that fragment.
Yeah, let's talk about that day. What is that, daytime or nighttime?
It was nighttime. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning, cause that's when we got hit. And I was out there walking on the road because I was just looking around, and all at once it's a boom, 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 and the metal would just splash and explode. And I said, what is going on? Because you would never see where it was coming from. And when that rocket hit the ground, it would fire them 16mm rockets at us. Well, it would splatter like 10,000 pieces, went everywhere. So when I got hit, and here's the bad part, I got hit, blood run down my leg, and I didn't even know it till one of the guys said, Darden, you been hit. I said, what? And then I looked, and then I got weak and got dizzy when I looked down and see my leg.
So it was you?
Yeah. So they took me to the we called them medevac. That's what we called them. That was a place where we could get taken care of. They said, well, Darden, you going home, man. You gonna get a Purple Heart behind this. I said, hey, man. I said, don't put that down. I said, tell them that I got hit with some metal, and it wasn't a fragment. I'm not leaving my boys. So they said, well, Darden, you can't go. I said, I'm going to stay with my boys because I had a scar on my leg about like that. It was about that deep, and they pulled it together with them stitches. I don't know how many. And the thing about these young guys was doing my leg, you know, like, well, I said young. He was about 25 years old. But he would, sew my leg up. And the thing about it is that it was still laid open. It took 30 days for it to heal up because it was always rain. It would rain weeks at a time, and it was cold, wet, and dirty. And the guys would change my bandage for me every day.
Aww.
Then they said, I'm dragging through it. They said, Darden, we got something for you. They made me a cane out of bamboo.
Aww.
So I hopped around on my cane then for about 2 weeks, and sure to God it did. It healed right up once they gave me that cane.
Huh.
It healed right up. See, the thing about it is that the guys, we had guys from the country, and them guys knew all kind of little remedies and stuff where they could help you. Like I said, they healed my leg and made me a cane out of bamboo. And I hopped around the jungle with them for 3 more weeks. And it was funny. They said, Darden, when I got back to the States, they asked me, why did you stay over there? I said, man, I wasn't going to leave my man.
Aww.
Boy.
Wow.
It was great. It was great because we all stuck together. Black, white, red, blue, whatever color it was, didn't matter. We was all comrades.
Aww.
We was soldiers. We looked out for each other. We ate together, sleep together, die together if it was necessary. We took care of each other. And I'm going to tell you, when I think about it, I just thank the Lord that the men in the Army in the United States of America, they take care of each other. You ever heard of that saying, don't leave no man behind?
That's you.
They meant that because that's where it happened. In Vietnam, they took care of everybody. Wasn't nobody left behind. If you got hurt, they drag you along with them until they could get you some help. Like I said, when I got hit in my leg, I didn't even know I was bleeding until one of the guys told me, he said, man, I didn't know I've been hit. He said, man, you've been hit. He said, oh, Darden, man, you're going to get a Purple Heart. Now you going home. So I didn't sit up. They took me on the medevac. And when he sewed me up and everything, he was asking me questions about everything. And that's when I told him, don't put down like I got hit with no fragment because I don't want to go home. I tell them that I got hit with some metal.
Huh.
And that's what they put down on my story.
So you got to stay.
I got to stay because why did I want to stay in Vietnam, but I didn't want to leave my man?
No.
I had 8 guys in my unit, and we was like twin brothers.
Yeah.
You know, we cried together, we ate together, we sleep together, we fight together, and we were willing to die together if it became necessary.
Wow.
That's one thing I'm going to tell you about the American soldiers. Mm-hmm. The training that we go through, it make you qualify for anything that you might come in contact with. And since I've been out of service in the world or today, that has helped me an awful lot. It taught me to care for others and accept the likeness from others for myself. Because growing up on 30th and Clifton, I was a rough guy. I didn't care about none of that stuff.
Yeah.
But I learned that in Vietnam, the men, we took care of each other.
Wow.
We was all like babies.
Yeah.
I mean, you slept with 8 guys, you wake up with 8 guys, you walk with 8 guys, and sometimes we would be crying together.
So you had talked about the night patrol, and you talked about rice paddies. You want to talk about what that is? And
the rice paddies, it was unbelievable. I kept back. I said, what's a rice paddy? It says what you in right now, Darden. I said, what? This is what they call a rice paddy. It wasn't nothing but 6 inches of water over dirt, and I guess the rice had been, harvested. But anyway, when we got to it, it wasn't nothing but mud and water. And we slept in it. We ate in it.
Oh, gosh.
We lived in it day by day. It was hard on young guys. But excuse me, like I said, I was from Tennessee.
Yeah.
So I was used to things being rough and hard. So I accepted everything and just took it in.
Yeah.
And I accepted it, and we always kept a smile on our face, no matter how we felt or what was going on. We always smiled.
Wow.
And that's something that I learned in my training at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, how to care for each other. And
did all 8 of you guys come back? You were there a year, right?
3 guys didn't make it back. 3 of them didn't. But one of them walked into a Claymore mine, and one of them drowned in a creek, and the other one got shot.
Goodness gracious.
It was because we were way across water, and nobody had checked it out, so we didn't know how deep it was until we get into it. You be way down in the water to you up to above maybe 3 inches of 3 inches above your knee, and the next thing you know, it's up to your neck. So
goodness gracious.
If you panic, you drown. But one thing I'm gonna tell you about all Vietnam buddies, we took care of each other.
Yep.
We carried each other. We was brothers. It didn't make no difference what color you was or what nationality you was. We was brothers.
When you came back, when you came back to the United States, were you treated bad?
They had no respect for. They called us baby killers. They called us murderers. They talked about us like dogs.
Yeah.
But I didn't let that bother me because I knew they just didn't know no better. It was hard when I came home and nobody respected us. But my mother was there for me. And I said, Mama, I got to get in church. I said,
Aww.
I said, this is too hard. I can't make it out here. And she started her to go in church, and she got wrapped up in church herself.
Aww.
She's gone on now, and one day I'll get to see her again.
So when you got back, you said that you were drafted into the reserve then?
Yes, ma'am. I was drafted in reserve.
So what did you think about that?
I said, no, man. I said, I just come back from Vietnam. He said, well, Darden, he said, we drafted you because you already been trained. We ain't got to spend no money on training you anymore. So that's what I did. I did my reserve there at Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
Oh, wow.
And what they mostly did was have me working with the young guys. We were working on our drills, and I trained them how to work with weapons, because I learned how to use, I use a M1 carbine. I use a 15, it was a machine gun that held 15 rounds. And M16, but that was M14. I love that. I think I love that best of all, the M14. Because you could either use it to shoot, or you could use the butt of it to whoop somebody with. So, and can you imagine, here I am, just a kid, and I got an M14 rifle with a bayonet on it, about a 2.5 inch bayonet, now 2.5 feet bayonet on it. And I'm walking through the jungle with all this equipment on. You be waved down, and the mud is up above your ankles every place you walk. And it was unbelievable. It wasn't real.
Yeah, I'm sure it's hard for people to even understand.
I look back now.
Unless you were there.
And I try to figure out, how did we make it through there? And I said, it must have been the grace of God. Because just like when I got hurt, and I would wobble around in that jungle for 3 weeks on a bamboo cane that the guys had made me, and they would laugh, and if I fall, they it'd be two of them always grab me back up, pick me up, kept me going, and
wow.
we loved each other and we cared for each other.
So you had how many years of service?
I did 12 altogether.
12, wow. That's
67 and
crazy.
68 in Vietnam, and then come back, thought I was getting away with bloody murder, and I got drafted for reserve. They said, Darden, we don't have to train you no more. You already been trained. I said, wow. So
you said there that you they asked if anybody knew how to operate the switchboard.
yeah, and I raised my hand. Oh, I do.
But you didn't.
No, I didn't.
But you learned.
I learned in 10 minutes. I learned everything that they would teach me. I have learned to maintain my composure and watch everything and listen to every detail. So they taught me how to run a switchboard in 10 minutes. And I had never even seen one in my life.
So are you glad that you were drafted and you went through the service?
Yes, ma'am, I am. Because it taught me how to prepare myself for life. Because I done had some rough days since I've been home from Vietnam.
Right.
But I'm going to tell you, the training that I got in service, it goes with you all through life. I'm 76 years old now. I'll be 77 in November. And I feel just as strong as I did when I was 19.
Aww.
And I don't realize how old I am until I look in the mirror at myself. And I go, oh,
or you try
man.
to do something.
Well, when I try, I make myself do whatever I got to do.
Yeah.
I can get out here right now and jog down to the corner.
That's awesome.
I can make myself do it. But God has been good to me.
Aw.
Uncle Sam was good to me, and he's still good to me.
Yep.
I bought 2 homes.
That's awesome.
On my service connection.
That's great.
I did. The home that I got now is still in Indianapolis. I still got it. I paid $79,000 for it. I owe $20,000 on it now. I was in there 20 years, but because the interest, it just kept. I remember one time I was paying about $500 a month. Now I'm paying $700 a month.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I ain't been in there in 3 years because I've been either in the hospital or up in Majestic Care where I'm at right now.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell you, these people up here, they had taught me to be happy about life.
Yep.
Because the experience that I had at Majestic Care, I didn't know nobody cared about us anymore.
No.
These people treat me like I'm somebody. And they show me utmost respect.
No.
They got me so, they don't even know it. I walk around and keep my mouth shut most of the time and just listen and watch.
Aw. Well, Gill, I am just so glad to meet you, and I want to thank you for your service and your sacrifice, and I want to thank you for coming on the show today and sharing your story.
I just want to say one thing.
Yes.
I got a set of twin boys.
Yeah.
And they, because of my service connection and stuff, they never heard this story before, but they both joined the Marine Corps.
Oh.
And they both did 4 years apiece in the Marine Corps.
Wow.
I was so proud of them. I said, did you tell them that your daddy was in service? They said, the only thing we tell them is our daddy went to Vietnam, and we might tell them nothing else.
Well, I'm glad you had a chance to share your story. It's awesome.
Okay, and let me just say this right quick.
Yeah.
In Vietnam, it's one thing I learned. I first got there, I'm thinking everybody's crazy. We just gonna go over and kill up a whole bunch of people. It wasn't like that. I made friends with most of them. I mean, I got close to them. I said, I didn't know these people got soul just like we do.
Yep.
And I'm tell you what, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful experience. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You meant to ask me. You were going to ask me a question.
No, we're just going to wrap it up. But I just want to thank you, and be sure to tune in next month for another edition of Hometown Salutes.
God bless you.